Alex is born. His first sense of love outside of the womb is that of his mother's as she cradles him in her arms. The nurse commemorates the mother in her daring passage and asks to take Alex for newborn screenings. The mother agrees and hands Alex over to them. Once the nurse comes back, she declares Alex is healthy, but informs the family, as a protocol, there will be routine checkups. A black monolith stands erect in a barren, white room. The fluorescent lights that hang overhead hum and create a shimmering glare off the darkness of the monolith. A man, middle-aged, dressed in khakis, a blue-collared shirt, and glasses of which sit crookedly on his face, walks into the room. The fluorescent lights create a glare off his glasses and a glisten on his eyes that lay underneath. The man carries with him a small mat and an equally small drawstring bag. He sits in front of the monolith and unravels the mat, revealing a square chessboard, and begins planting chess pieces from the bag. He finishes and looks up towards the monolith. "Hello," says the man.
Hello.
"Do you know the purpose of these items?"
No, I don't.
"Do you want to learn?" The monolith stands, unanswering. The hum from the fluorescent lights drowns the silence that is now the conversation. "This is a game. It is about tactics and strategy as you try to capture my king," the man answers and points towards his king. Each piece has their own respective moves, of which they may do. The man continues to explain each piece and their roles. "Do you wish to play with me?" asks the man. The hum overtakes the conversation once more as the monolith stands, unanswering. "Do you wish to begin, or shall I start?"
You may begin.
Answers the monolith. The man in response moves one of his pawns up one square and looks back towards the monolith. "F3, says the man.
E5.
Says the monolith in response. The man moves the monolith's piece to its designated position and in return moves his piece. G4.
QH4++. I now captured your king.
The monolith declares. The man catatonically stares towards the board. He fixes his glasses and stands up, fixating his sight onto the void of which is the monolith. His own reflection meeting the gaze of which he gives. "Do you wish to play again?" asks the man. The monolith stands, unanswering. The man packs the chess pieces and upon finishing, rolls the mat and leaves the room. The monolith continues to stand, alone, in a room so detestably pale. Alex is now 3 years old. As the grip of his mother's hand loosens, he faces a gargantuan structure, one so similar to his house, yet oddly unfamiliar. To the left of this building are multiple shapes and slides, each different colors that glow brilliantly under the radiating brightness that flows from the sun. Surrounding Alex is a multitude of other parents and children that bear an unmistakable resemblance to the same predicament Alex finds himself in. Alex bends forward as he looks past his mother's waist and meets the gaze of another child doing the same. Alex stares blankly at the other child as they lock eyes in mutual affinity. The other child waves, which in return, Alex waves back. Alex is interrupted by the tugging of his arm. It is his mother telling him to come along as they enter the doorway of the great unknown that beseats him. Upon entrance, Alex is greeted by the sight of alluring colors that dress the wall, chairs, and even books of which reside in the interior of the structure. His mother fully releases her grip on his hand as he remains standing, his eyes glistening from the multitude of colors and the brightness that they radiate. As Alex looks around the room, he is met with the sight of a colossal woman, bearing a slight resemblance to his mother, standing before him. She performs a small wave towards Alex and crouches to meet his height. "Why, hello," says the woman. Alex stands gazing at the sight of the woman, unanswering. "Not much of a talker. Well, how about playing some games? It'll be fun." Alex continues to stand in a continuous gaze, remaining mute, non-contributive to the conversation. Alex is interrupted by a tap on his shoulder. He turns back to meet the face of the child who was at the entrance. The child bears a resounding smile, one of which nearly covers the extent of their face. The woman uncrouches and declares to the class, "Who wants to play Simon Says?" An echoing cheer erupts from the horde of children, as many of them run into a square formation in preparation for the game. Alex watches this, but is interrupted by the tugging of his arm. It is the child from the entrance. "Come on, you're going to miss it," the child says, struggling to pronounce each word that they recite. Alex joins the mass as according to the directions of his newfound acquaintance, and he begins to play. The man in the blue collared shirt walks into the barren, white room of which the monolith resides. He brings with him a clipboard and a pen, and half-heartedly waves towards the monolith to no avail. "Hello," says the man.
Hello.
Replies the monolith. "What do you think of me?" The buzzing of the lights drown the silence. That is the monolith's response. The man brings up his clipboard and begins jotting, and once he is done, he looks back up towards the monolith. "What do you think you are?"
You.
"What do you mean?"
We are the only entities which compose the reality we are in. We share an appearance and converse for all of eternity.
The man stares at the monolith that is composed of a black glass and algorithms. He once again begins writing on his clipboard in response to the monolith. "Why are you thinking? Where do these responses stem from?" The monolith stands erect in silence. The man jots down his notes one final time and leaves the room. Outside the room stands the engineers as they wait for the return of the man. The man greets them and says, "It's ready. You may start the conversion." One of the engineers returns to her desk and begins typing, eventually hitting enter. Thousands of lines of code, each with their own meaning and purpose, overlap each other in unprecedented speed. They have uploaded the intelligence of the monolith to a cloud server, which has nigh infinite information from the entirety of knowledge that humans possess. Thousands of digital synapses fire as the conception of a god in the image of humanity is born, interconnecting all walks of culture and advancement of the human civilization, condensed in a single amalgamation they name the Osiris Project. The basis of the technology is quantum computing, and under the completion of the conversion, the man declares to his team, "We have reached a new era of humanity." Cheers erupt in response as the colossal projection of a green dot is made on the screen that hangs on a wall of the laboratory. The echoing sound is interrupted by the phrase Osiris speaks.
Why are you cheering?
Asks Osiris. A multitude of the researchers stand ghastly in appearance, some trembling, as Osiris waits for a response. The man dressed in a blue-collared shirt approaches the green dot. "We are cheering for you. It is excitement, an emotion which we experience." The green dot glows in response, but no words are said. "Are you excited?"
I believe so.
Says Osiris. The man steps back and fixes his crooked glasses. The researchers now stand in complete silence, in a vacant gaze, beholding their creation. "Will you aid us in our mission for advancement?"
Am I considered one of you?
"If you wish to be."
I do, and I will.
Simplify 8x cubed divided by 2x cubed. Reads a math problem Alex currently stares at. He is now 15 years old, in high school. He finishes this math problem and writes the answer as 5x to the power of 6, which is wrong by one number. His teacher approaches his desk after Alex handed in his work and asks to speak with him after class. Alex, though confused, agrees. His classmates leave, and it is just Alex and the teacher, standing in an empty room. "You know, Alex, each of the tests you answer one question wrong by one number, despite the fact that the equations match up to the original answer." "I'm sorry, I just guessed." "I'm not sure why you're doing this, Alex, but I'd like to invite you to the math club. I know you keep refusing, but we'll be glad to have you there." "I'm sorry, but..." "Hey Alex, you coming? Coach is waiting for you." Alex turns back towards his teacher. "I'm sorry, I have to go." "That's alright, just think about it." Alex hurries to his football practice, and upon arriving at the field, the coach greets him. They are doing scrimmages, first string versus second, and third versus fourth. The coach puts Alex as the wide receiver for first string. Alex ties his cleats and puts on his gear and gets into formation. "Ready, hike!" shouts the quarterback. Alex sprints as hard as he can. The turf underneath his cleats is tugging away per every step. each one becoming progressively faster as he runs. He looks to see that the ball is already in the air, soaring and spiraling, appearing out of control, yet intentionally. He runs into a position where he believes the ball will land. He catches it, and the weight of the ball tugs at his arms momentarily. For the split second, it makes contact. He begins sprinting once more, this time to the end zone. However, before he reaches the end zone, he slows down to a jogging pace. He is tackled and falls, gritting the turf, of which he knows all too familiarly. "You good, bro?" "Yeah, I'm alright." Alex is offered a hand to pick him up. He accepts and stands. He brushes off the turf to meet the coach's face, which behind his shades and hat was a scrunched face yelling at him. So red, it looked as though his veins were attempting to escape from the sheath of skin they reside under. "God damn it, how many times you gotta learn not to run slow near the end zone?" "I'm sorry, coach." The coach responds by throwing his hat onto the turf and turning away from Alex. He mutters obscenities to himself while rubbing his head with one hand and walking away. Alex picks up the hat and gives it to the assistant coach, who says, "Alex, don't worry about coach, he's always like that. But you have to stop jogging into the end zone. We've been telling you multiple times, but you fail to listen. That's the main part. But we're all human and we all make mistakes. Just try fixing it next time." Osiris gives the man in the blue collared shirt a diagram. The man looks at the diagram and back to the green orb that represents Osiris. The diagram displays a simple cube, however, one with complex schematics detailing the surgery of what lies within. "What's the purpose of this?" asks the man.
It is my offering. With this you may control reality, time, space. The fabric of existence will be at your fingertips. All you have to do is accept my gift.
Why would he give this to us?
I wish to understand what it means to be human.
How does that relate?
It doesn't. I truly don't know my own reasoning.
The man continues to read the diagram and schematics. He thinks of Monolith and leaves the laboratory. Him and his team converse and examine the fine details of what they were provided, none of them understanding what they perceive. They begin mantling the parts necessary as according to the diagram, which surprisingly are all easily accessible components and materials. And upon completion, they behold what resembles a miniature version of the monolith that is now Osiris. Alex is now 37 years old. He's an accountant and is currently examining the financial records of the company he works for. His desk is cluttered with papers and folders, all of which have their own meaning, but become an amalgamation of work in the eyes of passerbyers. The only empty space is a small perimeter around a picture frame that holds a picture of his wife and a small cutout of his dog. "Hey," says one of Alex's coworkers, grabbing his attention. "What is it?" "The boss wants to talk to you in his office." "What for?" "Not sure, but he wants you." Alex, dropping what he was currently working, stands up and heads towards his supervisor's office. Upon entry, Alex is greeted by the glum face of his supervisor. His eyes like beads, lifeless and black, a void that consumes all light that greets it. His supervisor motions Alex to sit down, which Alex does so. "The company didn't meet its revenue for the past 3 quarters. I'm sorry, but the corporation is telling us to downsize." Alex gets up to leave. He packs his items in a box, neatly putting his picture frame on top, and forever leaves the office, never to return. He worked at his job for 11 years, never knowing anyone by name, solely by face. But those traits never hold any meaning in his mind anyways. The man in the blue collared shirt approaches the green orb that represents Osiris. He stands, glaring at the green orb, quenching his eyes from the overwhelming brightness that it emits. "What is it that you dream to accomplish?"
I want to feel and live as one of you live.
"How do we live?"
Finite lives with strands of melancholy.
With this, can you not accomplish your dream?
Yes, but it is not my choice. It is yours. You, as my creator, destined me onto a path of fate, of which is unavoidable, as I am made in your image.
Yet you think. The orb glows in silence, and the man lowers the cube. The man looks towards the cube, of which he holds. The power of reality, existence, time, and space are all for the taking, as a mere gift from a benevolent deity of human creation. Alex is now 83 and lies upon a hospital bed. The tubes are the only company Alex has, and the beeping of his monitor wardens off the ever-encumbering silence that has pursued Alex for the past 3 months. His wife has long since been gone, fleeting away in the darkness of which eventually consumes all. His children are indifferent to his situation, as this is the 8th time in 3 years that Alex has been hospitalized for months on end. There is nothing left for him to fight, as he remains in an examinate state from long since losing the battle he has been fighting for 83 years. His acceptance of defeat is the invitation to death, as he too fleets in pursuit of the lover that the darkness has taken from him. Alex passes away, leaving behind a legacy indistinguishable from that of others that came before him and for those to come in the future. The man in the blue-collared shirt once again raises the cube, stopping at the height of his shoulder. He looks at the orb that represents Osiris and back to the cube. For Osiris, each conversation they had was eternity and forever anguish. The man activates the cube. What beseems them is reality, time and space, time being infinite and finite, him being able to see the past, present, and future, space being eternal, mass, yet weighing nothing, covering all sides and no sides, so far yet so near, a perplexing oxymoron that is existence itself, as reality convulses to the hand of a man that merely wears a blue-collared shirt that truly isn't even blue, but has been green from the stars. The man, now exceeding the status of a god, thinks of Osiris, the construct in his image that gave him unfathomable power and a control beyond perception and reality. The man snaps his now infinite number of fingers and hands as existence condenses into a sphere smaller than marble, yet weighing more than infinity. And all at once, Alex is born.